Elise serves on the House Intelligence Committee and the Committee on Education. Congresswoman, it's so nice to see you. It takes a lot to surprise me, but I must admit, poisoning girls because they want an education stunned me. So do we have a sense of, number one, what's happening, and number two, who is responsible for it?
Well, first of all, Trey, this is absolutely heinous and yet another example of just the unacceptable, illegal human rights abuses that we have seen in Iran in recent years. And everyone around the globe should stand strongly with the people of Iran who are standing up for human rights and for the fundamental human freedoms. And what is particularly frustrating from my perspective as a member of the House Intelligence Committee and the House Armed Services Committee is we currently have an administration, the Biden administration, who is negotiating with this despotic, authoritarian Iranian regime that continues to perpetrate these human rights abuses. That is not the type of global leadership we need on the world stage. The Biden administration has been eerily quiet in terms of standing up for these fundamental human rights. So I'm deeply concerned, and this is just another example of the Biden administration and President Biden not showing strong global leadership around the world.
You know, Congresswoman, you just touched on it. I know the world is a complicated place, and sometimes you have to deal with your enemies, but do you really have to negotiate a nuclear agreement with a country that is, at best, agnostic about poisoning children? I mean, are they still pursuing this agreement with Iran, even in light of everything you just discussed?
Well, that's what's most concerning to me is we have Obama administration 2.0 with Joe Biden in the White House pursuing negotiations with Iran when it comes to paving the way for nuclear weapons capability. We're talking about a regime, as I said, who just the heinous actions, whether it's the suppression of their own people, whether it's the poisoning or the tacit, acceptance of this just heinous poisoning of girls who are standing up for their fundamental right for human freedom and an education. So this is weakness, and it's the wrong approach yet again from the Biden administration, but it's part of a litany of how they've conducted their foreign policy and national security posture, where they have not stood strongly when it comes to human rights, and instead they're trying to appease adversaries like Iran.
Before I let you go, it seems like China has brokered a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. How did this happen, and what does it mean for the U.S. if China is playing a matchmaker on the world stage?
Well, it's incredibly concerning. Again, the U.S. is the global leader in terms of when discussions typically happen of this level, and the fact that China has been filling the void should concern not just every American, but should concern the entire Western world and even the developing world. And I think this is a direct result of the weakness we've seen going back to the early days of the Biden administration, whether it was their appeasing of Russia, giving Vladimir Putin Nord Stream 2 pipeline, whether it was the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan that led to the loss of 13 brave service members, those Gold Star families. That's weakness on the world stage, and weakness has consequences. And the consequences of that are a rising communist China, a belligerent Russia when it comes to their invasion of Ukraine. So when it comes to House Republicans, we are committed to having strong national security, peace through strength, and a strong, clear voice when it comes from the U.S., standing up for human rights and standing strongly with our allies rather than letting our adversaries fill that void.